All right, gaming royalty, you know how I feel about wasted motion. That's why we don't do it. So let's jump right into it. No safety harness. First and foremost, we're going to go ahead and just put our 10 toes down in the sand and draw a line in it. Mercy's in the A tier. Now you may be saying, why is Mercy in the A tier? Isn't that too high? She's not even that good. First of all, if you're worrying about healing and sustaining, heal bot Mercy, dead. Not a thing. Don't even bother doing it. This is about DPS amplification Mercy, because not to mention this character has like tier 0 level stall ability. You got an objective you need to stall and your Mercy's got cracked movement. Good luck. Even if you got talented Hitscans, even they're scratching their head like, I don't know about that. I can't get the shot. I can't hit it. She's still flying. So if you need to stall an objective, if you have a Kiriko or a Lucio and they're really good at having survivability, healing each other, they can stall stuff for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, even whole minutes at a time. So that in and of itself, for a defensive purpose or maintaining a position while the rest of your team is trying to regroup and get back to the fray in overtime, very, very good. However, with DPS, you guys got to understand, because this character is literally on crack, and this character's really good, and this character's really good, and this character is all right. And honestly, these two characters should be here, but with Mercy the way she is right now and having all the survivability and always being able to pay attention to the DPS, these three are also cracked out of their mind. They are on the new season of Breaking Bad. Trust me, I've seen it. Anyways, let's get right into it. Ashe, Soldier, Pharah. All three of these characters, mainly these two, primarily, are very huge beneficiaries of the DPS passive of getting a kill and then getting that reload speed buff, because let's face it, there was a lot of downtime for her having to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now she's just in there. She's just whipping them things in, getting a lot of damage, having a lot of uptime, having the dynamite being like, let's just be honest, this character has never built ult faster, especially because remember, with only a 1 tank meta, double shield, they don't have to sit here and go shield, 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 reload, shield, 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 reload. Okay, there's 3 seconds of downtime between these shields, and try to get a kill in that time frame. No, a lot of people are using comps, whether it's Roadhog, Junkrat, or Ramattra, where having a shield is like something that you're only going to have for either 3.5 seconds or not at all. So like, these characters are living the best life. And anytime Mercy's survivability is high, you know, Pharah is also going to be in the wings, pun intended, being very strong. I don't have to go into too much detail about that. And then you got a character like D.va. I think D.va's very middle of the road right now. I don't think she's crazy, but having a 4-second defense matrix and being able to, you know, I don't want to use the word tempo, but being to be up tempo, be in people's faces, get in, get out. If you got your movement down and you can use your boosters, hit the melee, know when to stop, and you can actually peel for your healers who are susceptible to damage or some sort of menace that's, you know, they're predisposed to in the back line, this character can definitely do a lot of things to help your team facilitate and accumulate W's. Ramattra I'm putting here because let's face it, folks, we are in a meta right now where, especially on the ladder, if you pick Ramatra's kind of a mediocre character when they're just in their base form. When they're regular old, I got a staff, I'm a poke at you Ramattra. But once they put on the big boy pants, the Timberlands, and the do-rag, this is a different man. This character in Nemesis form is literally Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. This character is a character that I have nightmare. This is my paralysis demon. I don't want to see him coming out of a dark alleyway. I don't even want to see him in broad daylight, to be honest with you, in the middle of a grocery store in a very upscale neighborhood. I don't want to see him. I'm scared. He walks across the street, I'm like, oh wait, look, I wouldn't discriminate against Omnics, but click, click. Click, click. I am locking my cars. I'm not letting this man anywhere near me because I am scared. Terrified even. And this is even when I'm playing Ramattra in the mirror, but that's neither here nor is it there. Ramattra, really good being in Nemesis form, being able to secure kills, being able to do a lot of damage, and that damage mitigation. Because I don't know if any of y'all have noticed this, but you can bulk up, get that extra 200 health to your health pool, go to 650 HP, take a lot of damage. Once you get back down to 300 HP, as soon as you lose Nemesis form after your 8-second cooldown, you can then pop ult and you will immediately get that 200. So now you're back at 500 HP while you're being healed, able to damage for an indeterminate amount of time depending on how close these people can get to you. The only issue is, while I want to keep them in A, They might be in B, if I'm being honest. I feel more comfortable being in B because it's an ult that's easily countered. You can get slept, you get CC'd, you can get pushed away. Hell, Zen could kick you back, Lucio could boop you, and then like a Orisa spear. Like there's so many different things that can knock you back out of range, or you know, Sigma could throw up a shield. Reinhardt could do this because your tethers actually don't go through shields. So there is definitely a lot of counterplay to the character. But as of right now, since Orisa is doing damn well, and I do think Ramattra fights Orisa compositions relatively well, I want to say he's here, but my heart tells me he's here, so I'm putting him in B. Now, that being said, Orisa is up here mainly because literally it's a fortress that will not die. Her mobility is great. Like, she is smoothing. Like, when she's spinning that staff, boy, she's tweaking. She's moving full speed. Not to mention, you know, Ramattra having that speed buff honestly still wants me to put them there. But for right now, I'm going to put him here because I just feel like Orisa's a little bit more consistent in how good they can be. But on certain maps, this character is definitely here because if you are in overtime and this character's on the objective and he pops ult and it's either you get on the payload or you lose, you know, I'm putting here just because your ult is such a win condition. I'm gonna put you in A. There, I talked myself out of it. There you go. A tier Ramattra. Now, Junkrat Queen recently got buffed, and to finish up with Orisa, once again, being able to counter Hog. Now, granted, you're countering Hog. You're probably going all in to counter Hog. So if you're playing Orisa, you and the Hog are like canceling each other out. That's what your job is. So the rest of it isn't necessarily you providing value for your team. It's, can your 4 now beat the enemy's 4? Can your DPS and supports beat their DPS supports? Because you and the Roadhog are so hyper fixated in combat because you're doing everything possible to cancel anything he's trying to do, any momentum he's trying to start. You just body block it. That's just kind of what the game will turn into there. But then you're playing tank roulette, which we'll get into in a second. But Junkrat Queen with the new buffs, I feel like a lot of her sustainability has gone up. One of my big problems with her before the latest patch was I just felt like you would go in there with your 450 HP and you just wouldn't live. Like, what were you fighting? If Reinhardt starts swinging on you and you hit him with a knife, you pull back the knife, you got a whole bunch of bleed up time, but your healing and your sustainability just wasn't there. And if you would kill a squishy, it'd be like, okay, you killed the squishy, but you got nothing out of it, so your sustainability isn't up. But now, if you kill a target, you get all the bleed damage accumulate that would return back to your health pool. Your ROI is now consistent. There's a lot of uptime. When you hit somebody with the big cleaver axe, when you're out here just whacking folks with Stormbreaker and whatnot, you feel powerful. You hit multiple people, the cooldown's back, you can be like, layer up, and you do another one. And you could just keep swinging for the fences, and it's a great feeling. It's sensational, really, and I'm finally glad that she is getting the care that she needs. I don't think she's godlike. Honestly, we'll see where the rest of the tanks fall, but she might end up down here. But she is definitely in a significantly better place than she was before the patch. Because before the patch, she was down here, bro. No cap, but that's where she is right now. Brig, I think is just a relatively solid pick. I just don't think that, like, you know, like we're in a meta right now where Reinhardt's not like just running in your face because Reinhardt's just kind of mediocre. So due to the fact that you don't see too much characters that are just running into your face with big strike damage, just beating you up, let's be honest, if you're playing a tank composition that has, I don't know, any sort of like brawl comp, which actually you can run pretty easily right now, she's good. She's a solid pick. She's not a throw. I'm tired of people saying that Brig's a throw pick because they're playing comps where Brig isn't good, or they're on maps where the Brig's off in Narnia playing Mortal Kombat 14 while the rest of the team is trying to do a thing all the way over here. It's the players, not the character in that regard. But I still think she's good. Her AoE heal is still amazing with the best of them. Speaking of AoE heals, we got our good old friend Lucio, top tier frog boy. Let's face it, if you got a Ramattra, you got an Orisa, or you got any tank that has a limit to how fast they can move, if you couple any of these tanks in the game with a Lucio, when they're up close and personal and they're firing all cylinders, they're dangerous. They're all dangerous. They're all ski mask Black Air Force energy. They're not to be trusted. Tanks are not good people in this game. They're not. They're all sinister devils. If they have a Lucio with them, then like, oh man, you're in for some tough sledding. I'm going to tell you that. Especially if any situation where you guys have to regroup and you have to retreat and you're not a tank yourself, you're cooked. because you can't escape. You cannot escape from crossing fate. With Hanzo's bug fixed, I still think he's, you know, he's a dinker. He can dink really well, but at the same time, if we're talking about dinks, Sojourn literally exists, Widowmaker literally exists. I don't need to talk about what you have a character that's a hit scan that can one-shot people and has some sort of mobility to get out of dodge and have a Mercy as a backup in the pocket. Body shots are still doing tremendous damage, especially with a Mercy pocket. We don't need to go into that. Zenyatta will always be A tier to me because of Discord Orb. We are in a meta where people are not running shields, much less double shield like in Overwatch 1. You Discord Orb a tank, tank gets shredded into oblivion. You Discord a Squishy, Squishy gets 2-tapped by almost any one of the DPS characters in the game by just hitting them in the body. This character will always be a threat just because Discord Orb exists as it does. Echo. Once again, really good character. Mercy's always available. Mercy damage amplification on Echo, still going crazy. Echo go brr. It's crazy. It's still what it was back in the day, and it's even better now. Now, because of her ult being nerfed and only having the hard cap of 300 HP, copying tanks isn't as good as you would think it is, because with a half health pool, especially with a health pool that's still 25% less than Junkrat Queen's already low health pool, you gotta understand there's only so much you could do with so little. Reaper, always gonna be a good pick. Consistent up close damage if you're going to be on the flank, especially once again, there's only one tank. There's not always people available to peel for the supports or the DPS that are caught with their pants down. Getting in and getting out has never been easier. I mean, let's just face it, folks. Especially since the quality of life changes that were in Overwatch 1, which have carried over to Overwatch 2, where his teleport is not as loud as it used to be. And they finessed the timing of when he's actually hittable out of his teleport. Before, he would be completely solid before he can move. Now it's like as soon as he's solid, he can move. So you're not always necessarily a free headshot every single time you teleport somewhere if someone's got their eyes on you. Trust me, I've seen people miss those. People don't always got those, as it were. Now, Genji, once again, I feel like when Genji blades, his character's amazing. When he doesn't have blade, he's all right. And normally you're just outplaying people's poor positioning or just lack of awareness, because sometimes people aren't even looking at you when you're coming across the flank, and you can get your right click dash, right click melee, and whatever combo it is you're going for, and you could secure some kills. However, you got to ask yourself, if I was any other flanker, would I have gotten this kill? And 9 times out of 10, if we're not talking about situations where Genji has blade, the answer is usually yes. We'll get to the exception to the rule in a second. So that's why I have Tracer up here in A. I think Tracer's a really good pick right now, especially with the damage buff. Now, they fixed the damage fall off bug, which, let's be honest, we were kind of getting away with a lot back then. But having the damage being what it is right now, I feel like one clips are at an all-time high. You're always available to have all these cooldowns, uptime. It's really hard to pin a good Tracer down unless you're talking about Cassidy, who's got the tactical nuke in his pocket that homes and tracks, whatever. You guys know how I feel about that. Kiriko, this is the I want to win button. I very rarely see a 5v5 where one team has a Kiriko and they ult, and you could pick any other support ult to match that ult. The Kiriko ult always wins. Kiriko's ult is insane. It's the DPS passive on steroids plus a movement buff, and it covers such a long radius, especially if you know how to set it up and get your Kitsune to run. Like, it's nonsensical that this ult is in the game as it is and as powerful as it is, especially with characters like Soldier, Orisa, hell, pretty much every character could take huge use of this. Like, Hanzo's not necessarily using Storm Arrow with his regular left clicks right now, but you guys know what I mean when I say a lot of characters, especially characters with rapid fire. Like, hell, even your supports like Baptiste, like, their healing output becomes insane because Ana's, instead of being like clack, 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 Ana's clack, 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 clack. Baptiste, like, it's absolutely insane what this ult is. Now, I think Bap and Ana are still really good. I still think that they're really solid. I still think that, like, they both can facilitate a tank player into just making, I don't want to say head-ass decisions, but your supports can allow your tanks, and then you can enable them to outplay tanks that they shouldn't be able to outplay because there's a skill differential. If you can keep a Ramattra player up or an Orisa alive just through sheer grit, 9 times out of 10, you will allow them to be able to build their ult in order to flip the fight back in their favor just because you're support diffing. And like, I just feel as though, like, especially in the current landscape of things, being able to anti people and to force Kiriko to use Suzu early, or if in Ana's case, to sleep somebody and then force the Kiriko to have to Suzu and then anti after that. I feel like there's a lot of mind games there. And let's be honest, as long as Immortality Field is in the game in any capacity, it's still going to be a top tier ability. You cannot convince me otherwise. There's a lot of things going for this character right now. You have Mei, and I just feel like May's just all right. Like, I don't think she's great. I just think she's like okay. Like, she exists in a realm where I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I don't really feel as though like she's gonna do anything that's like meta defining. Now, if you want to talk about when the Kiriko ults out, yeah, this character could be super scary, and her ult can be super good, especially allowing yourself to basically, I guess, kite people in certain directions, area denial, and of course, if you can isolate some supports to where they can no longer be useful in the fight and the rest of your team can clean up the rest while you finish off the support, hey, it's always great to do that. But I just feel like she's just all right now. Moira, I know this might be controversial, but I just think she's all right. I just think people like getting themselves into stupid decisions and make stupid plays, and then they just can't finish off Moira players who are just in their face holding the sucky suck button. Like, I understand that it's like, oh, but she could heal a lot and she could do a lot of damage, and I hear all that. But any character that can run out of a primary resource, it's very tough for me to put them in A tier. I think they're good. Like, don't get me wrong, I think B tier is still good. C tier is where we're like, all right, yeah, I don't know. And then there's your throwing, okay? And there will be characters down here, just you wait. So as we know, Hog, like we know what Hog is. We know another one-shot machine. We're aware. I feel like Winston and Zarya, if you guys have seen any of my videos talking about them, you already know how I feel about them. They're solid picks, except when one gets nerfed and then they fall down here. And then you're like, man, but all these other tanks are just doing so much. So then they fall down here. Because that's where Zarya is right now. Zarya on paper is still a solid tank. But when you're competing with this, when you're competing with, oh, I don't know, this? When you're competing with this, like, you're on dire straits. You're on tough time. I'm not saying that it sucks, but it definitely do be sucking. It be sucking a little bit. Like, we just got to be transparent. It do be sucking. Pushing that aside, Rhine, once again, kind of like average, middle of the road. Wouldn't say that they're terrible, but I just feel as though if you're having a character that has to hit 2 fire strikes and it still doesn't kill a squishy, I'm kind of tilted about that. If I pin a Reaper or a Mei and they don't insta-die, that tilts me. Mainly because these are both characters that have multiple outs to pin. She sees the pin coming. Mei sees the pin coming. Ice block. Sees the pin coming. Ice wall. Sees the pin coming. Gets pinned anyway. Doesn't secure the kill on the Mei off the pin. Ice block. Reaper, oh man, fade preemptively, or I'll eat the pin, then fade, because it doesn't kill him. Pin's got to go back to 300. If pin goes back to 300 and fire strikes do 100 damage each, he's here. But until that moment, he's here. So basically, I guess you could say B are characters that are good, but if they got buffed, I'd support it. Then you got Doomfist. I feel like Doomfist is like in the middle of A and B. Like, if I could put like one tier in the middle, like, he's either the last spot of A or he's the first spot of B. That's honestly how I feel. I feel like he's a good tank, but I feel like when they nerfed him, they nerfed some, like, how his cycle of cooldowns go just a little bit, so his uptime isn't crazy, but he can still make high impact plays. But there are a lot of maps that still heavily favor a good left hook to the face. I'm telling you that right now. Shout outs to Mike Tyson. Junkrat, I kind of want to put him in the I want to win category, because I cannot see a single situation or map where it's like, nah, man, Junk's not the play. The only situation is like, I guess if they're running Mercy and then like also have Pharah Echo, like if that's what they're doing. But even then, like, especially with how much burst damage this character has and how much height he can get off of his mines, it's not too uncommon for me to see a Junkrat not just go up there and get somebody anyway. But I'm gonna put him in A. He's definitely high A. He's up here. But I definitely think that Junkrat is doing a lot for the Junkrat community. I think Junkrat players, y'all are up right now. Y'all are up. I can't think of a single elo. I can't think of a single meta where this character isn't viable in some way, shape, or form. You have an ult that insta-kills like 80% of the cast. You could 2-tap people at close range. You can literally be a deterrent of area denial for yourself. Like, you don't need a whole bunch of setup. You just literally exist, and you can make it to where there's choke points, hallways, corridors that the enemy team just can't go. You could cut off a lot of the map, especially when you have maps like Eichenwald. This character's very dangerous. Then you have Ball. I feel like Ball does things well, but I don't think he does anything well enough to orient, like to put him up here. But at the same time, I'm not a Ball expert, never will claim to be. He's one of those characters where I feel like you got to be careful what you give him in order to get him up here. But at the same time, I just feel like with the one tank meta, I feel like he might need a rework. I don't want to say make Hammond DPS and give him like a smaller ball or something, but as a tank, outside of spinning around on certain points and like objectives and making space that way, it's hard for this character to make space unless you're an absolute terror in the backline, which, don't get me wrong, you could still play that way and be very effective doing it, but you're leaving your team oftentimes very susceptible to literally everything else that's going on. Not saying that the character can't be great. There are definitely some situations and some maps where I do think that this character can be strong, but yet again, I don't feel like it's strong enough to actually warrant being up here with these tanks. So I'm putting him in C. Sorry, Hammond players. Sorry to like all 25 of y'all. My bad. Hate to say it. But then you got Cass. As much as I want to put Cass here, being able to see a squishy hit one shot and then throw it, basically your win condition on them, and either force a cooldown, force a preemptive Suzu, force some ults, force a tracer to recall, that's really big. And as long as he has that, no matter how dog water the rest of the kit might be, he can never be lower than B. Then you got Bastion. Once again, Mercy's here. I don't need to explain that. Sigma, a character that has tons of uptime, could throw a shield, could have a shield that can help characters like this, and this set up to help characters like if you gotta remember, you got characters like Ashe, Widow, and of course Soldier, and you mean to tell me that you have a character that can put up a shield for them, still have their own means of protecting themselves, a get out tool, an ult that does 50% of the max HP of every hero caught in it with its just big circumference in and of its own right? That's a lot of power. Being able to have an insta-kill combo on any 200 HP hero, that's a lot going for this character. A lot. Then we got Sim. And I feel like Sim, on some maps, you could be up here. On some maps, you're here. But on the maps where she's not good, she's here. So on average, I just feel like, depending on your team composition and the map, I feel like in terms of consistent, if you wanted to one trick and you wanted to just be a Symmetra main, probably fall in here somewhere. But I'm gonna put you here because like there's nothing I would change about this character's kit. I just feel like there's certain characters who, the way they're designed, need to be in certain spots for the game to be healthy. Personally, and maybe that's just me, but it's just a weird philosophy that I have. But once again, anybody down here, if they got buffed, I wouldn't hate it. That's what this tier is for. Characters down here, they need something, whether it's a rework or a buff, I'll take it. Then you got a character like Torb. I think Torb's fine. I think Torb does everything that he needs to do. He's exactly what he's billed as on paper, and I think he's great. Other than that, this is where I've got the tier list right now. Now, the characters aren't in order in each tier, so don't look at it like that. Just know, I think these are the characters. You trying to win. Oh, these are the characters like, oh, you got game. You playing. You definitely, you're strong and you're here. These characters are like, there's times where you can shine, but you leave a lot to be desired in a lot of cases. And you know, and then there's what you really doing? Like, you're not throwing, but you not nice with it though, you know, like you And then there's the you're throwing tier. If I had to put another tier, this would be my final look. This would be it. I wouldn't touch anything else. Actually, no, that extra tier was the way. Yeah, that extra tier. Yep, there we go. Yep. And now we're looking good. Now you understand why I said this character was this row was like, if they got buffed, that'd be cool. But this character right here is gatekeeping the game from being very healthy. This character is keeping the game from being very healthy. This character is keeping the game from being very healthy. This one just kind of enables the other three because, oh no, my hog is asleep or anti and can't defend himself, Suzu. So there you go. Anyways, that's my tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I had a great time making this. We got to make some more peripheral non-gameplay content. If you're wondering, like, but you like Sombra, why'd you put her in your throwing? They made it to where this character doesn't do anything that every other flanker does better. Oh, what's that? You hack somebody, they're inconvenienced for like a second and a half. Sure, you may be able to stun and ult, but so can Orisa, so can Sigma. Like, there's so many characters that are in these other tiers that can do the very same thing. Doom can do it, and he can do it faster with just not even a fully charged punch. So even that's not really the greatest thing. That's number one. Number two, when you hack them, they don't even get CC, so there's no chance that like Orisa or Doom can knock them off the map, or May's ult could just stop them from being able to move altogether. Yours just kind of slightly inconvenience them and allow you to do extra damage to them, which on paper is fine, but that extra 10% with her already relatively low damage, she's like, her time to kill is still much higher than many of these other flankers who could just blip onto your screen, click, click, dead. Sombra doesn't have that in her arsenal. So, not to mention, if you could be permanently invisible, you could literally be in bumfuck nowhere and not do anything contributing to the team fight and just be like Boo Boo the fool off looking at somebody jingling their keys in front of you, and that's about all the value you've provided for your team over the past 35 minutes. But I digress. Anyways, y'all be safe. Y'all have a great set of games and an even better day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.